Just saying.
It's dawn time. Dawn time is a totally different time.
Dawn time and dawn language, they've discovered I have my own language too. I make up words, you know.
My daughter likes that.
Good. See? Well, hello everybody, and look at this. Your FEMpowered women are all together live in one place, sunny Sarasota. We've been here planning this retreat this week and also taking care of ourselves and making some huge just self-discoveries. You all know that this podcast, you know, when we originally started it, it was like by artists, for artists, but it's kind of expanded. And now, you know, we really are looking for the creative soul, the creative expression of people, because, well, we've learned how important that is for life.
Yeah, we've definitely been learning a lot from talking to all the artists that we've interviewed, and we've been really thinking a lot about, you know, our own personal growth and, you know, just growing together and like looking for common themes, you know, that we've all kind of shared over the last couple of days.
We've got a lot of interconnectedness in our stories and patterns.
Yeah. So one of the things that we really wanted to kind of get out, or I don't even know how I'm saying it, but one of the things we want to do with the FEMpowered retreats is have a safe container where you can nurture your, you know, your spirit, your soul, and have tremendous growth. And ironically, that's what we've all had here today. For example, I made this discovery about myself that although I love to give, I'm a very good giver. I'm not a very good receiver.
But you did it like a champ today.
But I did it, yeah. And, you know, that's something that I have become aware of, and it's something that I'm going to be working on. And I also discovered, you know, one of the reasons that my art practice is so important to me is because it's my me time. I'm just going in solitude, decompressing, and doing something that I love. And I'm just by myself. And that's really important, especially if you're a giver, you know. And I broke out my journal here, like at the most crucial time when I had some tough news, and it was like it was like a reflex, you know. I thought, I'm getting my journal out and just gonna play a little bit, and I felt better. And this one here, Cami, Baker Miller, gets up every morning and sits out here at this table. And, like, what about the discoveries that you've made?
Yeah, and writing and writing and writing.
And writing.
And writing some more.
Yes.
Crying a little, laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all really great things to be discovering, but there's also this catharsis. I think tears are phenomenal. I think they're medicinal. I believe that all tears are good. So I never try to stifle that. And there have been quite a few of those. This week.
Cleansing.
Very cleansing.
They're cleansing.
Very cleansing. It's like getting rid of the last of that ick that you were holding on to.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to one of those things that I want to bring up at the retreat, like helping women start looking at their own stories and realizing that I read about that a while back. I don't know if you remember it, but about stories being myths, like beliefs are just things that you think over and over again, and they might not necessarily be rooted in truth. And so what does that make them? Myth. Because myth is not rooted in truth at all. So what are your personal myths, and can we let go of some of them?
Oh, I love that. And how many myths do we have in common also?
Cool.
I think a few.
Yeah, quite a few.
Wounded feminine.
Yeah.
I mean, we all three have talked about having trouble receiving, and how we feel like we have our productivity is tied to our worth in some ways.
I was also saying about really feeling self-conscious of our, how we look at different situations, not really giving to ourselves enough. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I've made any huge, personal discoveries. I mean, probably I have. But one of the things that really is on my mind that I think is just amazing is to meet both of you in person.
Yeah.
For the first time. Because we've been virtual friends, and, I was a little nervous to, pull up into the driveway, and it just went away immediately. You came out and said hi, and we hugged, and then you showed up, and it's just amazing, actually, all the new friends that we probably all have made some new virtual friends over the last few years.
Right.
But then to actually meet in person, and then kind of, it just feels so surreal in a sense,
Yeah. The energy, I mean, I felt connected to you. I felt connected to you. But when you're together, there's just such a bigger exchange of energy.
It is. Oh my gosh. It so is. And I don't know if I told you this. And I mean, I know you don't know it. But the reason I came out there was I saw a car coming, and I just knew it was you. So intuition kicked in, and I was like, okay, I'm going out there. And sure enough, it was you. And that's another thing. I think we've really been tuning into our intuition this week.
Yeah.
And
yes,
a lot.
Yeah. I was thinking how, we're all artists, and we all enjoy doing artwork, but how you made that self-discovery that your art is in your writing.
I just it's funny. I kind of put away my paints and haven't really. Every time I think about doing it, it's funny. Every time I think about painting, I think, I have to get everything out, and I have to put it all back up, and and I just don't want to do it. And if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So
right. And that comes back to the whole, how we think of artists as people that paint or draw or whatever. But an artist can be a singer, an actor, writer, it's all creativity.
A homemaker, even. I mean, in the way they prepare a meal, or
culinary. About cooking, and I was telling her, I was making out that schedule of I want to fit everything in, so I'm making out my hours, and we're like, oh well, you've got to take some of that cooking time away, and that's another. I like to cook. It's like creativity for me. But I probably could give some of it up.
But we both point out that you're not good at time management anyway, so I'm really not sure why you're making the schedule.
I'm trying.
I just like her approach, though, because she was just calculating how many hours it takes to do the things that are important to her in a week, and then that helps you to be more realistic about your priorities. Instead of trying to put them onto a calendar or onto a planner, with all the hours of the week or whatnot, I just really thought about, okay, I want to spend 7 hours per week, with meal prep or, cooking stuff.
Yeah. And to see it on that paper, Like I'm thinking, uh-oh, every time I added something, I'm like, oh no, I'm running out of time. Oh no,
It's like
I
making a
only have
budget.
2 hours left in the whole week. What am I going to do?
Mhm.
So, I mean, it did help me to see it.
Mhm.
I probably still have some work to do with my time management. Okay. But
Oh, I'm only picking on you because I'm one of those people that gets a new calendar and thinks I'm going to time block and I'm going to do this perfectly.
yeah,
Mhm.
Day into it, and I'm already off track. I mean, I just can't. It's just not in my it's not in my makeup to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I look at you and I laugh
I'm trying.
because I see myself.
Right.
I am always on time or early for stuff.
Really?
But that doesn't mean I'm going to get all my tasks done.
Yeah. I'm always on time and early for stuff too. Just saying.
It's dawn time.
Dawn time is a totally different time.
Dawn time and dawn language, they've discovered I have my own language too. I make up words, you know.
My daughter likes that.
Good. See?
I've got plenty of my own made up.
Yeah. I just don't know that I'm making them up. I think I'm saying the real thing.
Yeah, and I've really started to, cultivate a little bit my priorities. And one of my priorities for my sabbatical year is painting.
Yeah.
And really, focus on making some sales and just trying to see how viable it is to, try to earn a living off of the sales of artwork.
Right.
Or the original or prints, all the things. Like, it's really important to me to have that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Really important.
That's a powerful word, freedom. Being able to do what you love doing.
Yeah.
And getting paid for it.
Yeah. And what's that quote that was playing through your phone a few times?
Oh.
Something about it turns out that happiness is related to how much time you spend doing something you love. It's not having to do other things, but it's really, the balance of time of things that you enjoy.
The gap between what your soul loves and the amount of time you spend doing it will be the size of your unhappiness.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to answer to, kind of the masculine way of doing things in these masculine institutions, for this stage of my life is not something I really want to do anymore.
I do not ever pray I never have to go back to some kind of corporate setting. I can't let that happen. So my priority, I've discovered, is a little different than I thought.
Yeah.
And that happened. I mean, yes, with my writing this week, it's been on fire. But that happened when I gave you the hard copy of my book. And what did you say, though, when you told me you read them? And what did you say? Because this is what changed my focus.
So when I was reading all of this poetry and all these, little clips that she has been writing, every time I read something, I said to her, like, I am like visualizing this as a painting or a picture every time I read it. And it's so good.
You said it felt like it was you.
It felt like something that I wrote, but I don't write that way, but I could really feel it. I could feel the words.
That is so cool.
It's really powerful.
And so,
what? We're going to write a book, right?
you're going to
do
the art.
And I'm going to do the art. She's writing the book. I'm doing the art. Yeah. It's so good.
I might have a
It's
few
so
things here and there.
good. I love it so much.
And Alyssa saying, to be able to bridge that gap, that age difference is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are our priorities. What is your priority?
Well, my priority is to focus on my artwork. I mean, it's going to be a big chunk of my week. Every week, I've signed up for a lot of courses and I've completed some of them. And one of the courses that I signed up for was the Milan course because of Lynn. And I did take their painting class and it was really good. And so I bought the course and I haven't done it because it hasn't been a priority in my schedule. But after this week, I've realized how important that part of myself is. So it has to be a priority. I'm making it a priority.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Because I am painting and I'm doing work and, commissions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, really sitting back and developing, the next body of work, like all new stuff for art shows and different things. I haven't had that focus. It keeps getting pushed back a little bit because, I had a higher teaching load than, what I had hoped for. And then I had different service that I had to do at university and then starting new research adventures and things like that. And so, I know I'm going to have time very soon, but I'm also going to have to very fiercely protect that time. When I go to Italy, I'm going to be on sabbatical, and part of my sabbatical research is art related, but the rest of my time is going to be art related. It's going to be me related. So I need that for
Why
me.
do we have such a hard time doing that as women? Why do we
I don't
have
know.
such a hard time putting our priorities first?
Because we live in a masculine, dominant world,
Yeah.
I think. But also I think it's because of the long-term wounding of the feminine and the women's movement in particular that really got kicked up in the 60s and 70s was all about, we can do anything a man can do. So then we've stepped into our masculine and we've lost something in ourselves by doing that.
Yeah.
Something really important. So now I think the next, feminine movement and the true feminine empowerment is to say, you know what, guys, you can do that masculine thing. That's fine. We're going to do our feminine thing.
Well, it goes back to receiving.
Yeah. And
Excuse me.
yeah, following the intuition, following the joy, following the curiosity.
Yeah.
Not having to jump through all the hoops and ask permission and get the permission and then have to beg, borrow, and, beg some more in order to actually do the thing that you already have permission for. No.
And set the hard goals and take this linear path when truly feminine energy is not linear whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can channel it and do linear things, but that's not who we really are. We're meant to kind of zigzagging, loop back around.
Yeah.
Wait, this looks great. Let's go do this for a while. I mean, that's our natural, where we are supposed to live.
Right.
But learning how to dial in, and really get clear on who we are as individuals and what is our calling. I mean, that's something that has to be really cultivated.
It really does. It really does. And it's funny that you say that because that's how I feel like I was when we were walking on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you that I just had this intuitive bit that, I feel like I've struggled with things for so long. I've tried so many hats on, but that when I hit on the exact right thing, it's just going to take off and it's not going to matter how long it took anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm there.
And that was
Really
revealed
close.
to you over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
With the things that we're reading and, the card pulls, and it's like, oh, there it is again. Yep.
And the funny thing is that sobriety has added this new dimension of awareness for me.
Yeah.
So I'm able to really tune in and actually receive the messages instead of, my senses aren't dull.
Yeah.
They're online, and the epiphanies are coming more and more and more.
Uh-huh.
And I've had people tell me that before, that they don't drink because it messes with their messages and what's coming through for them. And I think that was like a final key for me. And it was funny because I kind of likened it to video gaming. Up level. I reached the next level. Finished the level. But that was just the last key for that level. I've got this whole new set of keys I've got to find in this new level. So.
Well, we're always growing, right?
Yeah.
No matter what. I mean, and that's what I try to tell people about recovery. It's not, removing alcohol or any kind of substance for someone that uses it or, maybe has too much of it, does not constrict your life. It expands your life. Like, it makes things so much bigger without that in the way. And it's a huge fear point for people to make that decision, because they think, oh my gosh, my whole life is going to change.
Yeah. I don't feel like mine has really, other than gotten better.
Yeah.
It's really...
It doesn't. It does get better. It gets better and better and better. It's awesome. Yeah. But, as we go on this path of self-discovery and growth, one of the key components of any kind of recovery from anything, whether it be a substance or a relationship or
working too much,
is service to other people. And those other people include ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I've really been good about. I love doing service work. I love it. I love that kind of thing. But there came a point in my life where I went overboard with it. Like, it was like I was serving everything and everyone but myself. And it's really important that we find that balance, right?
Yeah.
Because we are by nature people that congregate,
It's very important for us to have connection.
Yeah.
And, as I'm getting ready to go to spend a year in Italy, I'm really reflecting a lot on the, lifestyle differences and work-life balance and just the overall quality of life. And one of the things, other than the food, okay, I'm always going to talk about the food, but everybody knows Italian food is great, but is really their focus on connection. The fact that, for example, if we go to a restaurant, and when my nephews were little, they just run around all, doing whatever they want, like what kids do. Nobody's bothered by it. That happened here. Parents would probably be maybe asked to do something about their kids, or they would feel embarrassed or whatever. The cultural norm is just really different.
Right.
Like, there is just much more, tolerant of people in their expression. And I think that's one of the things that is just so oppressive here in the U.S. I mean, yeah, we have freedom of religion, we have freedom of this, we have all this, we have so many different cultures that kind of merge together in the melting pot. But, in all this push to kind of assimilate and come together, somehow we also forgot to have an appreciation for personal expression. Do you know what I mean? Like it's something different than, like we're a really remarkable society in the fact that, we are a big melting pot and people from a lot of different nations have worked together and, lived in communities together and such. But I feel like there is an undercurrent of an expectation, and it could just be my perception, but, that everybody needs to kind of assimilate. And there, because they don't necessarily have that melting pot necessarily historically, although it's happening more and more that, different kinds of immigrants are moving to Italy, lots of places from all over the world. But it's just this appreciation for human expression that I just can't figure out how to articulate any different. But it's just a rich, rich thing that I feel like we can really have when we have these kind of, connections with like-minded individuals who support one another.
Yeah, right. I think that's why we came together for the retreat. Because we feel like we have something important to share with other women. And I feel it can be life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this week's been life-changing. Just the three of us being together.
Yes.
It's just been...
Yeah. And it hasn't been perfect. I mean, we've had our little moments of, discord, maybe a little bit, or not so much discord, but like uncertainty with certain things. But boy, that's far and few between.
Mm-hmm. And I felt safe to get really vulnerable with y'all yesterday at one point where I was just feeling, well, of course I cried because that's me. I can't help
I did
it.
too.
And that goes back to that whole thing about us being uncomfortable with ourselves. So now that we already mentioned that, but it was one of those things where,
ooh. Like, for example, body image. I didn't like that shot. That's been huge. I was like, oh my gosh, we can't film this. Look at me. I know. I'm working on it. But I'm just being honest.
Quit looking at me.
Don't look at me either. We're all a little self-conscious. I don't know where or why, but I think it's part of the feminine wounding.
Yeah.
Because in our society, and I think it's it's probably fairly global. Women as they age are not considered as valuable as men who've aged. I mean, look at the movies. I mean, the Pretty Woman just comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Rich old guy, young woman. I mean, maybe there has been one movie at least that had the opposite, but that stereotype is so frequent. Young women, older men. Older men are wise, all the things, but in other cultures, I think it's really in these blue zones, older people in general are much more highly valued. So it's both men and women. For some reason in our kind of patriarchal society, it's kind of like the men, but the women have a lot of value.
Well, a lot of the people that I follow, it's starting to come back around where the wise woman, the crone, is being seen as more, well, to still being seen as sensual and whole and a complete person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's becoming more prevalent that this view is being taken. There's still a long way to go.
I think there's
a beautiful example.
There's little pots of it.
Yeah.
There's little sections of that. But overall,
and see, I immerse myself in that, so I think it's more highly
right.
Like whatever.
I think there's containers of that where you have that.
Well, and your neighbor is a beautiful example of it.
Oh my gosh.
81 years old. She wore, some really cute shoes with a little bit of a heel.
And she was
conversation was
today.
amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was working out and pulled a muscle in her back and
Lifting.
Yeah.
Weights. Like.
Yeah.
She held her own with us.
Yeah, she did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like this transition, at least for me, the transition into 50s, it's taken some work. It's taken some real work. And I think it's still a little bit on my mind. Like, it's still something that I'm healing. What the expectation is. Am I gonna, what am I gonna do to live another 50 plus years?
We were talking about this in the parking lot on the way to the car, and then I got sidetracked because I thought the car wasn't there anymore. So I want to hear more about this, about the blue zones.
The blue zones. There's a number of places around the world that they find people living into their hundreds and still healthy, productive individuals. And so I don't know exactly which countries they are, but they did find that culturally, people are very valued as they're aging. So they're still working. They're not necessarily, I don't know about retirement or like how that all works, but they're still working. Their opinion is valued. They're staying active in their communities. And so there's a woman, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the show notes, who's over 100. She's a tattoo artist in one of these island countries. And she's just as fit as any person in their 40s, I think. Having a good life.
I've heard about her, and I don't remember where I heard it. When I saw an article.
She's famous.
Okay. Recently.
She was on the cover of one of the major magazines. It's not one that I subscribe to, but it's some major magazine, not People, but something like that. That she's the cover person of the year.
I think I saw that magazine.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like standing in line waiting to buy my groceries or something. I think I saw that. And it was very intriguing. And it just jogged my memory when you said it that I've even heard about that before. It's amazing. Wow.
So stepping into our power and helping to change culture, whether it just be to change the generational wounding, our own, lineages, or changing culture in terms of having these expectations that are different. We as a collective can do that. Women have a lot of power to shift culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it is happening. And there's that ripple effect, right? I mean, you can't possibly throw a stone in a body of water without having a ripple.
But as we heal, then the men in our lives, the boys, they also have a lot of wounding. They also have an opportunity to heal.
Right.
But if we stay small, then they feel like they have to take care of us. And they don't have a chance to relax and reflect and heal some of their own wounds.
And it is, you're right. Staying small is not the answer. And growing and expanding into our power looks totally different than our feminist counterparts thought it should.
A little thought error there. Probably made sense though in the 1960s.
I mean, this is when they couldn't. Their income wasn't even considered when if they were married and trying to get a mortgage or something like that. They wasn't even.
Well, women haven't even had the right to vote in the United States for much more than 100 years. So made a lot of progress in the
Yeah.
last 100 years, but there's still a lot more to go.
Right.
But that the answer was that we were supposed to become cookie cutter carbon. What's the word? Carbon copies of men and their patterning was
Right.
where.
I mean, that really started in World War II when, the men went off to war, and so the women filled the factories. And then after the war, women decided that, hey, we can work. And so it kind of just, things kind of settled back into, the nuclear family for a while. But then I think women really wanted more.
Yeah.
And so it started with like, we can be equal. We can earn the money. There was like a song in the 70s, something like, I can buy the bacon and fry it up in a pan.
Yes.
Yes.
I know that song.
But the something more that I think they were looking for was, I want to say, almost like an enigma. Like they didn't know what the something more was that they really wanted. And so they went after what they thought they wanted, which was to be.
They went after what they thought they wanted, or they went
strong as
after what they thought would put them in
Equality.
inequality, but also in places of power.
Yes.
I mean, there's been such a focus over the last, I don't know how many years, because I work in STEM and whatnot, but it's true with the corporate world as well, like the leaky pipeline. Why are women not rising to, the C-suite? Why is that happening?
I think our power lies in something totally different. Like where we're really powerful is where we've been ignoring the areas we've been ignoring.
Yeah.
But that brings us back to this
intuition.
This magic container that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it all starts.
Rest, relax,
Coming together, resting, taking care of your needs, realizing what your needs are, realizing your patterns, your dark shadows.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Realizing the dark shadows. Because if I don't know what those dark shadows are, I can't possibly begin to heal or become better.
And to realize that some of those dark shadows are valuable.
Right.
They are valuable. They're not just something to get rid of.
Right.
And a lot of people think they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of, I think a lot of the pain comes from is when you think you have to cut out parts of yourself when really what you're supposed to do is understand it.
Integrate it.
Yeah.
And you call it dark shadows.
I call it it's shadow side or dark hallway.
I call it, walking into the darkness. And I've walked into the darkness a lot of times. And, when you say you don't want to get rid of your dark shadows, I don't want to get rid of that part of my life because it's attached to people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when people say, you'll hear the expression, well, she's getting over that. She's getting over that grief.
Mm.
You don't get over it.
It just changes.
You move through it and you emerge. But like you said, it's always a little part of us. It's always a part of me. So, but the caveat to that is you emerge if you work through the darkness. You emerge a person that, in my experience, can experience joy more deeply, appreciate, the sunsets and the sunrises, and appreciate this time right here, right now, so much more deeply because you've experienced that complete darkness and pain, that, it just magnifies the good, the joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience with it. If that makes sense.
Makes complete sense.
There's been so many, like I haven't, I can't relate exactly to what you're saying, but my spin on it is that sometimes I feel like there's a part of me that doesn't necessarily serve me anymore. So let's say, I have the creative side, I have the science side, and for a long time I've been teeter-tottering back and forth, identity as my identity as a scientist or as my identity as an artist. And I think more recently I've really figured out that my secret sauce, if you will, like the thing that makes me really special, is my ability to be in both and combine both.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's no recipe, that we have to necessarily like subscribe to or follow that is out there and written on some, agenda or some program or whatever. It's really like getting clear in ourselves and, doing the work, like you were even talking about, the mirror exercises and really like thinking a lot, like, what is it inside, each individual person that is the thing that needs to come forth? Because we don't want a bunch of cookie cutter women.
No.
That's not going to heal the feminine. We need
variety.
Your thing, my
we
thing.
need the messy and the
their
raw.
thing,
to
like
be
everybody's.
authentic. I mean, to be authentic, we need the messy and the raw along with
Right.
everything else.
I was just thinking about that. Why do we seek that perfect image and, the perfect woman? Like, you think about all the magazine articles and the things that they promote in our culture is, the beautiful woman that's all together and outwardly appears like everything's great and life is not messy and their houses are beautiful, home and gardens, whatever.
I mean, I'm thinking of the silver screen years, when women started to be on TV and in the movies. And Hedy Lamarr is such an amazing hero. She was on the silver screen. She was a famous actress, and she had a look that was just considered to be the height of beauty for that time and that era. But she also had a brain, and she because of her whole story of how she immigrated to the U.S. and at the timing of the wars and different things, she actually came up with basically the whole premise of what we now consider to be like the GPS and the Bluetooth with this frequency hopping. And she took it to one of the branches of the military, and, wanted to get this patent. And she did get a patent, but they just said, oh, yeah, thank you. You're a pretty lady, and they just humored her and then threw it out. And then actually several years later, the military people were really desperate. They had to come up with a solution to have their radio frequencies not be, spied upon by, the enemy. And so somebody was digging through these files that they considered to be trash, and they found that patent. And they found a way to make it work. And it's like the technology, the idea behind all of the, the Bluetooth connections and the GPS, all of the things where we have communication that goes through the air, via frequencies, is that they hop back and forth. Like, why is my Bluetooth individually, separate from yours and yours? We have how many phones are in the world, and they all are able to communicate with different devices and the cellular towers all at the same time. It's because of her thoughts, her intuition, her putting her brain, to good use. But she wasn't considered to be anything other than beautiful at that time.
Pretty deep conversation here.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was going to go this deep, but I mean, That's been pretty status quo for our whole time together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're discovering some really powerful things.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we have planned.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first retreat is in September here.
Yeah.
The arrival on the 12th.
Yeah. Arrival on the 12th,
So
departure on the 17th.
So the retreat days are the 13th, 14th, 13th through the 16th.
Yes.
3 days where we will be doing in-depth workshops. So there are 6 workshops planned. And then with a 4th day, which is an integration day, where you can come to us with any questions, anything like that. We're going to do 3-to-1 individual coaching with each retreat guest and or participant, however we want you to participate.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to give you some downtime.
Yeah.
But we want you to participate.
Right.
All of the breakfasts and lunches and snacks are included, and we have a dinner cruise one night. So one dinner where we actually are going out on the water and having a sunset cruise.
Mm-hmm. Sound bowls.
The beaches are amazing here.
You know, the greatest thing about it is we're giving people tools that they can take home with them.
Many tools.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this retreat is not going to be like any other because it's the first.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that come and gather will give us a unique energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be repeated ever.
Yeah, because the first people that come are going to be kind of more of those, you know, not just seekers, but there's something about that kind of entrepreneurial spirit or that adventure spirit, really, is I think what I'm looking for.
I love that adventure spirit.
Yeah.
Risk takers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebels.
Yeah. So we're super excited about it.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be fantastic.
I'm going to be bringing with some Italy vibes because I'll be flying over from there.
Yes.
Maybe even some new recipes to try.
Cool. And there's so much here in Sarasota. I mean, we experienced the beaches and they're
phenomenal.
They're magical.
They really are. What it's Siesta Key is 99% quartz.
Yeah.
And it is the softest sand I have ever set foot on. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just the energy there was incredible. That's where we took the bowls to play the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, was that just last night? It was.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the connections.
Yeah.
The connections are really what's going to be magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll make.
And just like we said, you know, we've talked to each other over the computers, the phones.
It's nothing like in person.
But when we got together, these connections are magical.
Yeah.
There's just a different kind of energy. So, yeah. So we will put that link in the comments. And if you're interested, you know, tap on the link. And it is limited to 10 women. We want to keep it small. We want to keep it intimate. We want to keep it personal and very spiritual. It's going to be a spiritual experience. Anybody else have anything to add about it?
I mean, I just can't wait.
This
has been so great spending this time here with you in Sarasota, and I just really appreciate meeting you in person, and I just can't wait to invite more of our friends to join us.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that concludes our little impromptu session, but you know, let us know in the comments if you've enjoyed this, because it's a little bit different than what we normally do, and we have really enjoyed it. So if this is something that you like, let us know, because we think we might get together a little bit more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.